Show No Mercy came out in 1983 alongside Metallica's debut, Kill 'Em All. This was pretty much the beginning of thrash as we know it. Now, there were some thrash songs in the past, like Killers from Iron Maiden, or even Rapid Fire from Judas Priest, kind of thrashy as well. But these are like the first full-on thrash albums. Or you ask, well, maybe they were influenced by Metallica? I highly doubt that. They were in different parts of California. I don't even think Kerry King or any of them had heard of Metallica at this point. I think they found out about them a little bit later, and they were just kind of... Slayer was just pretty much working on their own, not giving a shit what everybody else was doing. But yeah, I think the reason why this album is so thrashy and kind of similar to Kill 'Em All is that they were very, very inspired by stuff like Killers from Iron Maiden and, you know, Dissident Aggressor from Judas Priest, all that kind of harder stuff. So let's get into the members. You have Jeff Hanneman, or Hanneman, whatever. He's lead guitar, the better of the two lead guitars, and one of the best principal songwriters of the band. He had passed away a couple of years ago. We'll talk about a little bit more about that in the upcoming Slayer album. And then we have Kerry King, the other lead/rhythm player. I think he does better rhythms, but not good leads at all. He just kind of whammy bars it the whole way through. It sounds like a freaking ghost, just wah, wah. And then you have Dave Lombardo, an amazing drum player, considered the godfather of the double bass. And then you have Tom Araya, the bass player / vocalist. They were formed right about before 1980. So I think during 1980, kind of around the exact same time Metallica was formed. So both of them kind of released this stuff at the same time. It was originally, I think, supposed to have more of a British metal sound to it, I think. But Jeff Hanneman was a huge punk fan, so they decided, well, let's fuse a lot of heavy or fast playing riffs with like progressive time changes and stuff of British metal. So yeah, they pretty much formed the basis of thrash. Now I believe that Kerry King's dad financed half of the album, and the album is very low budget though. Someone told me that there's like a part where it beeps and then it plays a guitar solo, like a very faint beep, like it's that low quality. But I think it's a little bit better than their next album, I guess. But I still like the sound of it. Now the artwork is pretty cool. It shows Satan putting the final sword in the pentagram that says Slayer across it. I always thought it was to me, this kind of got me interested in Slayer, because I'm like, that kind of looks cool. You know, I'm religious, but I didn't really care about I don't know, I just thought it looked kind of alright for artwork. First song, Evil Has No Boundaries, is pretty cool. I believe it was written by Jeff Hanneman and Kerry King. It's probably easily the weakest song off the album, to be honest with you. There's not that much changes to it, the riffs aren't that great, and the chorus, in my opinion, is kind of corny. It's an average song, in my opinion. It's alright. And what else is interesting is pretty much any song off this album could be the opener, kind of like Kill 'Em All, where all the songs are somewhat similar. The next song, The Antichrist, is really great. It's one of the best Slayer songs, and it's a live staple for them even to this day. And it's more British influence with like a lot of heavy thrashiness, you know. It's a really cool song, easily one of my favorites off the whole album. Then we get to Die by the Sword, which is easily one of my favorites off the album. It's so awesome all the way through. Yeah, man, the main riff is really cool as well. The chorus is really epic, and you know, there's some diverse parts of the song as well. It's more of a standout track in my opinion. It's not filler at all, pretty much. It's like, finally, when you get to this in Antichrist, it's like, now we're getting somewhere. Now, the song Fight Till Death is really interesting. The intro riff that kind of goes throughout the song after the chorus is really weird. It kind of sounds like a bass and rhythm guitar part. It's really odd sounding in my opinion, but it's really cool as well. It just kind of sounds like as if it's a backwards riff. It just sounds that weird. But I really like this song. The chorus part where you just fight till death is really awesome as well. Really nice riffs throughout. Very, very thrashy song, and another great song of the whole album. Now these next two songs are my favorites off the whole album. I consider them easily the best. and that's Metal Storm / Face the Slayer. Metal Storm is a instrumental section. It's very similar to Genghis Khan from Iron Maiden, like not necessarily riff-wise, but structure. It makes you think like this is very influenced by Iron Maiden's instrumentals, and at some points it's a little bit better than their own instrumentals. I wish though that they separated the two tracks and they just kicked off the song Evil Has No Boundaries, because that song just, I don't know, it just doesn't belong in my opinion. So yeah, it's really great instrumental. The freaking intro riff is awesome, and it kind of has like a falling down sort of part riff right after the main intro riff. The dual lead playing on it's very cool. And then that goes into Face the Slayer, which I guess you could kind of say is like the band's anthem. But they never play this song live, I don't think. It's not really like the Antichrist where it's a staple for them. But it's still a cool song. Metal Storm easily makes this whole Face the Slayer part a lot better. So, next song, Black Magic, is freaking amazing. The intro part where it's just kind of like slowly getting louder as they play this really well-developed and badass riff. Like, you could kind of say that a lot of the riffs sound the same on this album or any of their albums, and they're not that well-developed. Well, this song is so well-developed. Like, the riffs are badass throughout. The lyrics are extremely well-developed and creepy about, black magic and stuff. And the build-up for the, main riffs of this song, just, the build-up for the song is very heavy and seems like it'd belong on their next album. The next 3 songs, I guess, are kind of, sort of filler, but they're a lot better than some of the other songs off this album. Like, Ike Tormentor and The Final Command, the next 2 songs, are just as good as the songs before, like Die by the Sword, Black Magic, that type of stuff. So it's like this middle of this album is good, and then kind of the end and then the beginning kind of sucks. Weird, because usually it's the middle that sucks, and then the beginning and the ending is awesome. It's kind of a weird setup. Tormentor feels a lot like Killer's era Iron Maiden. There's a lot of, it's more like light British sounding metal. It sounds very British compared to their other heavier songs off this album. A lot less of the punk, and a lot more of the heavy metal. So, yeah, it's more of a lighter style song, more riff oriented. And the singing from Tom Araya is actually kind of nice in this song. It sounds like they added more melodies. And it's a complete opposite with Final Command. This song is complete thrash / speed metal. It's really fast, about 2.5 minutes. And it's just really, really fast throughout. It's got some really funky riffs to it as well, so it's a pretty nice song. Although I like Tormentor a little bit better because it's interesting for them, it's kind of like normal heavy metal. This song just kind of feels like another Slayer song. Now, Cryonics is also very interesting. Kind of has a weird name. I'm not sure what it means. So the Cryonics has a lot of galloping throughout, kind of like a lot of Maiden songs have, with bass and guitar gallop. It's pretty much all the way through. Not that many riff changes, but yeah, it's very Maiden influenced. You can hear it in there pretty much. But it also has a lot of punk to it, so it is a very galloping thrash song. Very interesting. And the final song is Show No Mercy. Now, another interesting thing about Slayer is that each album, in between each other, they switch from having the title track at the end to the beginning to the end of the beginning. Show No Mercy is at the end of this album, Hell Awaits at the beginning of the next album, then Rain of Blood at the end of the Rain of Blood, and then so on and so forth. So what do I think of this title track? I believe this one was written by Kerry King, just solely by Kerry King. But the riffs on it are really great. It's very, very heavy. Some songs aren't as heavy, even if they're thrashy on this album. They just kind of sound a little flat. This song is really heavy, though, and pretty well developed, in my opinion. So, Show No Mercy is a very interesting and great album, and it's very different for them, for the rest of their discography. The next album kind of sounds more like Slayer would go, because this album only, except for the exception of Black Magic and maybe Die by the Sword, each song sounds rather light, more British, normal heavy metal compared to not only thrash metal, but just creepy, atmospheric thrash metal that they'd go on to do a little bit later.